welcome to eLearnChat, where talk, it's knowledge. And you know what else is knowledge? Experience, fun, storytelling, you name it. We've got with us today some great folks. Leslie Price, she is our co-host, good friend. She is dressed as a little Santa elf today. She's got her little costume on. We wanted to see that Emma Peel suit, but she hasn't worn the leather outfit yet. One day. Look at that. So, Merry Christmas to Leslie. And it's been a while. We haven't had a show with her in about a month, so we're glad to see her back.
I'm sorry. It's been a very busy month because it's been the Learning Technology Awards in the UK,
yep.
which are very well known, not just in the UK, but worldwide. And I was very fortunate that the organisers allowed me to speak about Learn Appeal from the platform to the 800 audience that were there.
That's great. And in the upper box, I feel like we're doing Jeopardy or Hollywood Squares. In the upper box, in the center box, we've got our guest of honor today, a good friend, Renaldo Lawrence. He's been, this is like the fourth time you've been on the show, or some. It's been a while since we've had Renaldo on. He was on about a year ago when he was, about a year and a half ago actually.
2 years. 2 years.
2 years already? Oh my gosh.
2 years.
You know, you look younger. I don't know what it is.
I am younger.
You are younger. Well, Renaldo he's a good friend for one, but he's a marvelous guy. He's done a lot of stuff in his life, and he's got a new book out, which I haven't read yet because I only really found out about it on Monday. And immediately got a hold of Renaldo, and he came on. So this is great. He was on vacation. He's a school teacher. He's heavily involved in a lot of things with the British school system about modernizing and getting more digital. And we can talk about that as well as his great new book. But before that, quick intro, and we're back. Here we are. Sorry about that. I forgot we had the second video playing. Well, Renaldo, you have been involved in so many things in your life, and you know, a lot of people who know you always go, "Whoa, what else did you do? And what else have you worked on? What makes you tick?" And you're telling us now. You wrote a book, and you told me something yesterday. We talked, he and I, on the phone. I think we did a Skype call yesterday. And you told me something about your mom in this book. You want to tell us a little bit about how the book came about, how the title came about, which I love the title of the book. Do you have the cover of the book that we can show?
Yes.
So this is the cover of the book. It's available on Amazon and pretty much a lot of other places. It'll be available on Kindle soon. And it's already in digital version, so it's available. And I recommend you buy it and read it. He's a good guy. He's got a lot of good stories to tell, and this is his life. And I love the title of the book, too. Renaldo, what made you write the book?
You know, Rick, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And Leslie, it's so nice to finally meet you. What made me write the book? For almost 20 years, my mom, who's 92 now, used to tell me that I need to write a book because I was fortunate enough through basketball to travel to a lot of countries, and I did a lot of things. And I resisted for a long period of time. And then about 9 months ago, I got up one Sunday morning, and I used to go for a 3 or 4 mile walk every day on the weekend, and these things just started coming to me. And so what I did was I came home and I started writing them down. And I was blessed enough that when they came to me in chapters. They weren't in order, but they were in chapters. And so I wrote everything down, and then when I got that done and I made up my mind that I was going to do it, when I contact a guy called Darryl Palmer who did it for me, and then I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to do it. And then all of a sudden, I had this title for the book. It's called, it's a different title than what it is now. And I had a gentleman call me, Brian Thomas. He called me and he said to me, "That's not the right title for your book." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't really know you, but okay." He told me the title that I have now, and I was like, he said, "I was thinking about it and I was praying about it, and that should be the title." And I think the title that we have now is a really good title. So the book came out of me wanting to share my story, but even more so, the book came out because I have two kids who I wanted to show them that they could do anything that they wanted to do, and all they needed to do was just put their mind to it. But also, where I come from, we have a very small town, and I wanted to show all the kids that look like me that regardless of where you started at or what you're doing, you can be successful. And with the internet, you can do anything you want to do these days, so nothing is holding you back. So that's pretty much how it came about.
That's great. And your mom got a copy of the book.
Yeah, and you know what was fantastic, man, was that on her 92nd birthday, December 4th, I was able to present her with a copy of the book. And she sent me a picture with her, my sister sent me a picture with her reading it, and if I would die tomorrow, my major life goal has been accomplished, because it was her dream for me. And I think that's the issue that all of us have in life, is that other people see things in us that we don't see in ourselves. And if we just go ahead and listen to people, especially people who are older than you, and listen to the vision that they have and what they see in you, and if more people will try to do things like that, you'll be surprised at what you come up with and what you come out with. So, yeah.
It's interesting you talk about what you've achieved, Renaldo, because when I sold my house a couple of years ago, and I taught in further education, and I'm sure you're very familiar with further education in the UK, and so many young people who come into further education have come in from a school where they've been told they're failures, they're rubbish, they haven't passed their GCSEs, all this. And this young man, okay, not maybe so young, 38-year-old, came round my house and he was viewing it. And my house wasn't cheap. It was a good house. And he's asking me all these kinds of crazy questions. And eventually I said, "Oh, yes, Loughborough College." And he went, "I know, Mrs. Price, you were my teacher." and it was so wonderful because he brought his 7-year-old son with him, and he bought my house, and he put down over £200,000 deposit. And he said he'd achieved that by being at college, by doing entrepreneurship, by setting up his own business. My goodness, he is probably one of the best success stories I can ever tell. What a wonderful young man.
And it's very interesting, Leslie, and I know both of you have felt the same way, and I've taught as well, and I don't think there's any greater reward for any of us who teach, especially people who really dedicate their life to teaching, to have somebody come by later, like you said, and say, "You meant something to me. You somehow you helped. You did something."
Yeah. So who are the characters? So you've written this book now, Renaldo. Do you have any stories about different people?
Yeah, I do. I have quite a few stories. Let me just say something about the students. I'm going up tomorrow, and then I'll tell you about two particular individuals, other than my mother. I'm going up tomorrow to Google, and one of my past students, he has a high-flying job at Google, and he bought the book, and he called me. He texted me today and said, "Can you come to Google? I want to show you around. I want to buy you lunch, and I want you to sign my book." And when I did the book was not to make money. The book was to show people that you can be prosperous in terms of accomplishing your life goals. And I had, when I was growing up, I was very fortunate because I had good parents, but also like any kid, like any boy, sometimes life doesn't seem to be going the right way, and you may come off and veer off, what is right and what is wrong, whatever. But I had a guy, his name is Mr. Oscar Dayson. And Coach Dayson was probably, other than my parents, the most influential individual in my life. And the thing that Coach did was Coach used to open up the gym every weekend, every Friday and Saturday night at around 6:30, 7 o'clock. And he would open the gym, and then he would close the gym at around 12, 12:30. And it was interesting to me because I never really thought anything about it. And he coaches about 90 now, and I was with him last summer. Because what I do is every summer I go back, I try to see the two gentlemen, and the other one I'm going to tell you about in a moment, try to see them and thank them for what they've done for me. So Coach said, he said, do you know why I did that? And I was like, no, why? He said, because what time does the clubs close? I said, well, they close about 1:30, 2 o'clock. He said, exactly. So what he was essentially doing is he was saving our lives by keeping us off the streets. And the other gentleman that I knew, his name was Kenneth Colclaser. And Mr. Colclaser was a band member, so I used to play tenor saxophone. And what Mr. Colclaser did for me was he let me understand and helped me to understand that you could come outside of your race and it was okay to like different people. But he also exposed me to another world that I'd never seen. So he liked Stan Kenton, Louis Armstrong. He was a jazz pianist. He played about 5 or 6 or 7 different instruments. So he took a lot of the kids from where I lived who was in the band, and he took us to different places that I never would have been able to go to without him. So those two I pay homage to every time I go home. And I want to do the same now. And part of writing the book was my way of giving back to them, but also my way of showing kids anything is possible. Anything is possible.
My view on it, Renaldo, is slightly different. Rick knows that I've actually been quite ill in my life. I've had breast cancer twice. I had it when I was a very young woman. I was 31. And my prognosis wasn't good. And I'm now 30 years on, and I'm still here. And I don't view it as paying back. I think of it as paying forward. I can never, ever repay the people who helped me and supported me. But what I can do is help those that, that I didn't even know existed. So I pay forward. And that's why I do stuff with Learn Appeal.
Yeah, I think that's how you pay them back, is by paying it forward. Because I think the society that we live in today is quite different from where we were growing up. And I think today what happens is a lot of the kids are looking and searching for different ways to be successful. And I think, if you can be a positive role model, and sometimes it's only one kid. And if you can help one kid, you would have helped the world, and a lot of it is how you carry yourself. A lot of it is how you talk to people. And, a lot of it, to me, it all starts with gratitude. And it all starts with how grateful you are for where you are. And I think gratitude, to me, is the most powerful thing in the world. I am grateful. I'm grateful for everything that I've got. And I'm grateful just existing. I had my best friend died on me October 16th. And he and I always used to, his name is Kevin Cato. And he and I always used to talk about what we're going to do with our life. And when he was taken from us and taken to, I hope, a better place, I just made up my mind that, I never really did care, but now I really don't care what people think. And I have a mission, and my mission is to make sure that this world is a better place. And I can do that by starting with my environment and starting with the people I have direct contact with. And I also made up my mind, Leslie and Rick, that all the people that I know who I wasn't influencing or who didn't have a positive impact in my life, I was striking them off. Because if I'm not doing anything for you, then there's no use of me being in your life, and vice versa. So I only have people in my life who I choose to have in my life, who I can help make a difference in their life, and they can help make a difference in my life, while I see them doing something positive for the world.
That's a really good point. And, a lot of people don't know some of my background. I went to a predominantly black high school. I wasn't black. Most people don't really realize that, but
I love your stories, Rick.
yeah, you
I
did.
love
You did.
I love
You're not,
But
Rick,
you know, I was
you're
when I
not
first moved out
black,
there. It's like
really. But like, I'm not a Scottish redhead.
that's right. But yeah, I went to this high school, and it was a pretty good high school on the whole. But it was a little tough. No big deal. Um, and I taught martial arts on the side, and you know, with one of my teachers. And so I spent my life, you know, at least my early years in high school and stuff, actually pre-high school in New York. And then we moved out to LA. That was the predominantly black high school. And to me, it was no different than being in any other school. People were people. You had good people, you had idiots. That's just everywhere. And for the most part, there were no problems, interestingly enough, or really no big problems with race or anything else. Nobody cared as far as we could tell. I guess they hadn't been tainted yet by society on the whole. It was mostly young guys and girls, and everybody was just getting along. But I remember when I taught martial arts, which was about 4 blocks from that high school in a slightly more ghetto area, and most of the teachers in that school were, I'd say probably 80–90% were black. And you know, we had a whole mess of rules in the school that you had to behave a certain way, and you had to give us your grades. And the kids would go, why do I have to give you my grade? Because if you're not doing well at school, you're not going to hang out here and screw around. You need to get good grades. And my teacher, he was Chinese American from Hawaii, he was a teacher. He was a special ed teacher. So he knew about teaching, and he said, no, our school is an outlet to the community. So that's how he saw it. It was a community outreach program of teaching martial arts to a community. And we had some of the best kids just coming and practicing the discipline, the respect. I'll never forget, we had a 10-year-old kid. And he was sort of a creep, you know, just a typical 10-year-old troublemaker. And at one point, I think I smacked him on the head. I just kind of whacked him one. I said, stop it. And he goes, I'm going to tell my uncle. I said, you can tell your uncle all you want. I don't care. Next day, the uncle shows up. Now, Ronaldo's a big guy. He's about, you know, about 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
He's a big, I'm 6'2", so I was smaller. Well, 6'5" shows up. That was the uncle. Big, V body, perfect shape. Guy was probably in his 40s. I was, you know, probably late teens, early 20s. And he shows up, and he looked kind of like, I'm going to get killed. So he comes up and he goes, are you the teacher? Kind of. I'm the assistant teacher. And he goes, you the one who hit my nephew on the head? Yeah, he deserved it. He looked at me and goes, thank you. He shook my hand. Hey, and I'm going, heart, start again. Because I was thinking, this is going to be one ugly fight if he gets angry at me. And I'm probably going to get hurt. He's big. He's strong. Not to mention, in those days, we respected the older people. I couldn't fight an older guy like that. I mean, it was like wrong. And you just didn't do that. People ask me, how did you treat your girlfriend's mom when you knew her? I go, with great respect.
Yes.
You know, but he shook my hand, told me, if he ever gets in problems again, you call me. Gave me his card, his number, and said, I'll deal with him. And I looked at the kid and said, oh, man, you're
in Scotland, it was in Scotland,
and it's like, and that's really what it's all about. You know, everybody has these stereotypes of this or that, and really life isn't like that. And it's like you said with the title of your book, nobody can judge you until they know about you, who you are. And that's what I loved about your book, and well, at least the title. I haven't read it yet, but I will. And what you're coming across and what you're saying now, because it is about who you are, what you are, and how people perceive you. It doesn't really matter how they perceive you if they don't like you. That's tough. That's their problem. Most people are pretty good. Most people like other people. And, you know, I keep joking that the news is there to make people hate each other, because every time I've been in a place where I was one of the only ones, I had no problem. People are people. And I think that's what a lot of people forget. We may have different experiences growing up, different lives, but when it comes down to it, we're people.
Human decency.
Yeah, human decency, respect, courtesy to each other, and paying attention. One of my favorite teachers, and you know, I told you about this guy, Dr. Milt Davis. He was a Baltimore Colts wide receiver. He was a UCLA Ram back in the 60s, or probably 50s and 60s. I had him as a teacher in Los Angeles City College, it was a junior college. I think you call it Further or something like that. And he was one of my mentors. He was black. He was one of the best players of his time. Did really well. He had a doctorate in education, and he went back to school, got his doctorate after UCLA, and was a teacher. And he taught beautifully. But he was also a martial artist, and he was a football player. And he was probably one of the best mentors I've had in my whole life. And the only thing I'll tell you, I think I've mentioned this on a show before, but when you want to say thank you to somebody, say it before they go. You don't have any time. And I missed him. By the time he hit 80-something, he passed away right when I was about to go visit him by surprise.
Can I say that I was very fortunate that Kevin Cato, my friend who died, that it was regularly that I said I love you to him. So, I feel no guilt, and I think he knew how I felt. I knew how I felt, and so so you move on. You move on, but you move on understanding that they had a major impact in your life, and you take what you've learned from them, and you try to make yourself better, and you use that to try to make other people better, or to try to help others. And that, to me, that's the bottom line.
Well, you know what? It's funny, Renaldo. You and I met on Twitter.
Yes.
Part of the same e-learning group.
Yes.
But it's funny. It's not that I met you because you were anybody different, but I liked your profile picture. I told you had a good smile. I said, I like this guy. I don't know what it was about you, but I said I like his smile. And next thing you know, we're talking to each other, and you wanted to do voiceover, and we talked about that, and as
a matter of fact, Rick, you talked to me I was in Charleston, South Carolina. You talked to me for an hour and 10 minutes about doing voiceover, and I always was so grateful for you for that, because you didn't have to do that.
Oh, I enjoyed it. It was fun, and you're a good guy, and that was it. And Leslie, we met on Twitter too, and we were talking about rock music and about people we knew and things like that. And next thing you know, several years go by, 7 years go by, and I say, hey, Leslie, do you want to co-host?
So, Renaldo, what is, you mentioned about being important and with young people, and obviously, I mean, I can tell you, not necessarily on this show, but afterwards, what we want to do with Learn Appeal. But both of you have talked about the importance of the internet. Many people don't realize that an awful lot of young people in the UK are not able to connect. It's not just when you're overseas that there's a problem. So young people get hold of your book.
Yeah, they can. It's interesting that you ask, because what I've done, the library at my house in South Carolina, they have agreed to take the book in. So all the young kids would now be able to see me on the shelves. I've gone to the libraries here in Surrey, and I've asked them to stock the book, so we'll see. Tomorrow I'm going to a Christian bookstore and talk to him about taking the book. But if the best place to actually get the book is Amazon.com, or if you see me walking the street, I've always got books with me, and I have the Square app that I sell my books off. And you know what? The important thing to me is the message that's in the book, because
how can we get that across to the young people? What I'm going to do now is give you an invitation. And I know that you're a teacher, and I know it might not be possible, but there is a very big Learning Technologies conference on the 31st of January and the 1st of February. And if you would like to come along to that, and join us on the Learn Appeal stand, and also meet Expo delegates and conference delegates, and share with them your story, I would be more than delighted to offer that opportunity to you.
Well, it would be a tremendous honor for me. If that's what it would be a tremendous honor for me. All I would need to know is details, so I could ask my school about coming out. But I would love to.
All we would say is come along and help us on the Learn Appeal stand for maybe an hour or so. And the organisers are so supportive of what we're doing at Learn Appeal that they give people who help us conference passes, unfortunately not to the sessions that are oversubscribed, but to the general sessions. They give us conference passes, and on your badge you would have either the name of your school or whatever name you wanted on it, and that you want to support Learn Appeal. And at Learn Appeal, all we want to do is take e-learning to the disadvantaged. So your story would be fantastic to tell the people who are at the event. And I say, if you would like to accept that invitation, I'll send you an email. I'd be delighted to have you there.
I would love to. I just need to clear it with some people in the school, but I would love to. And, you know, my story, like I tell kids and I tell adults, everybody has a story. But it depends on whether you have enough confidence or whether you want to express yourself in a way to tell your story to the world. I've never met anybody who didn't have an intriguing story that I was interested in. But it's the difference of whether you want to share your story with the world or whether you want to keep your story to yourself and just tell your next door neighbor or your friends. And I just chose to share my story with the world because I just think that it's so important that the things that I've been through, you know, essentially all of us go through the same thing. But we just experience it in slightly different ways. And so I just wanted to let people know that it's okay not to feel great about yourself. It's okay not to think that you're successful. It's okay not to look at somebody else and think, oh, they got it together. Because nobody really has it together, if you're honest, because you don't go home with people, you know. And every time you get up in the morning, all of us get up, have a shower, go to the bathroom, go to work. We all do the same thing. It's just that people have different vocations and occupations. And so as soon as you get your head around that, you know, life becomes a little easier. You know, but you've got to start off by loving yourself. You can't do anything unless you care about yourself. And as a teenager, I know it's hard. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. But one of the things that I do is, and I've done it for a long time, is when I go to bed at night, I write down 4 things that I've done during that day that was successful. And so when I arise in the morning, I read those 4 things. The other thing that I do that has been really successful in my life, I have a mastermind group. And these people don't know me from Adam, but my mastermind group is Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, Eric Thomas, Anthony Robbins, and Jim Rohn. You know, these are my mastermind group. And I have on my phone, I use my phone as a self-motivating mechanism. So I have all the videos that I've downloaded, and I listen to these guys continually during the day because I just feel that when I leave my house, I need to be armed against the world, and they help arm me. So when anything that I encounter out there, I'm ready. I am ready. You know?
But it's not just children. I think that is one of the big things we have to realize. It's not just children. It's not everybody. Just there are so many. I mean, one of the things we want to do at Learn Appeal is to encourage and nurture young talent in our industry. Because most people, when they leave school, when they're even at school, think, they've never heard of e-learning. They've never heard of it. They don't know the industry exists. And even people who are working in our industry don't know that the difference that they can make, not only to their own lives, but to other people's lives through learning.
Yeah. Well, people make assumptions, don't they? They just assume, you know, and even here in Surrey.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. You do know the thing about assume, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Make an ass out of you and me.
Even here in Surrey, where it's quite affluent, you know, you can go to different places and there's a lot of deprived kids. So people just assume because you live in certain areas or you have certain parents or you have this and that. There's a lot, when it comes to learning and being mentally prepared and, feel, the thing to me that I believe is that people just don't feel wanted or just don't feel valued, and I think everybody needs to feel valued and everybody has value. But I think the thing with value is that you have to find your gift. And when you find your gift, you then start feeling value in yourself. And I talk a lot about this in the book. Life is about knowing why you're here. And, a lot of people leave us and have no idea why they're here. And one of the things that I always tell my kids when I'm teaching them, every day, find somebody you don't know, have a kind word for them, and open the door for somebody. And that's all you got to do. You paid your way to the universe then. But do something for somebody else every single day.
It's interesting. I was reading an article recently. Somebody, I forgot where it was or what it was, but they were interviewing John Wayne. This is back, I guess, in the 60s or 70s. And they said, what do you think about the state of women in the world today, with women's liberation and everything else? And he said, all I know is we've lost our respect for women. We've lost the courteousness. We've lost the simple things like opening doors or letting them in first or just being polite. And he goes, and that applies to everybody. We're losing that in society. And I was thinking, wow, that from John Wayne, huh? But he was right. We've lost our chivalry, if you will. We've also lost the ability to, or it's at least seemingly society-wide, there's always exceptions, the ability to treat others with that common respect. I always laugh. I hold those doors open for everybody, and I usually tell people thank you as they walk by, because they're not even willing to say thank you anymore. I go, thank you, you're welcome. Because it's just like they've lost. It's like, oh, you think I'm the doorman? People are just rude. And you go, slow down a bit, take a moment. I knew a martial arts teacher once who used to say, and I was 19 when he told me, so it made no sense at the time, if you have to hurry, hurry slowly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth there. I've known you for years now, and I think you practice that. You don't rush to make a judgment. You think about it. You take your time.
No, Rick, I like to give everybody their due value. And I'm not, who am I to judge you? I am merely another vessel on this earth just like you. And all I want to do is just try to, if we intertwine, our lives, is just try to make sure that when you leave me, that, man, your life has been enhanced by even if it's a split second that we've interacted. That's all I'm about. And there's no alternative motive. I don't want anything from you. I don't want anything from you. I just want to make this world a better place.
No. Sorry, I have to disagree with you there, Renaldo. Because what makes you the way that you are is the passion you also get from other people. Because if you didn't need anything, if you were totally isolated, you would not have been able to write that book. So
no, I'm a product of my environment and a product of my life. Yeah.
You have taken the experience of being with other people and use that to tell your story.
Yep. Yeah. It's interesting because, and this is one of my favorite chapters of the book. My grandfather was a magnificent man. My great-grandfather was one of the first. I think he was the first slave, great-great-grandfather, the first slave that was given land. So my family had a lot of land, and we traced our heritage back to Sierra Leone. And so we had kings and queens in the family. But the thing about my grandfather is whenever he said, I am, I have never heard a negative thing from him. I am was always followed by something positive, and that really stuck with me. And I'm a very big listener to people. It is amazing how I hear people and they continually put themselves down, even if they do something that's very simple. And what they don't understand is that if you continually tell yourself that negative stuff, it does stick. It does stick. So you got to find reasons to praise yourself, because other people won't praise you. You got to praise yourself first.
And
That's a
that
really good.
I
That's a
found
really good
that
point because the
particularly
imprint. I'm sorry,
in
Leslie.
further education. So I found that particularly working with young people who had been told in schools, who ended up in, doing equivalent of GCSEs again,
Yep.
that they felt they were failures, and they weren't failures. They just hadn't quite found the right place to be yet.
Well, can I say this to you? You know, part of that problem is, Leslie, is that school is not for everybody all the way through.
Yep.
But I also think that the curriculum that we have, what's interesting to me is that all through school, and I've been around the world, and no school system that I've been in teaches kids how to balance a checkbook. So we don't teach kids the life skills that they need in order to be successful. And I understand that you have to teach people how to learn, but there's some things that should be innate. There's some things that every child should know when they leave school. And I don't personally think we're teaching those kids those things. And I think we are failing our kids. I really honestly do. I think we're failing a lot of the kids. And I think the governments, I think it's ping pong with the different governments that are in. Everybody's trying to get one-upmanship. And instead of looking at the kids that we have and say, this is what we need to do. And I just feel so sad for some of the kids I come in contact with, because I don't think they're getting a good deal overall in the school systems.
I can't disagree. I had quite an interesting discussion on Facebook the other day with somebody who was, let's say, not being exactly positive about studying home economics at school. And, I'm not saying home economics is the best thing, it's everything, but bloody hell, it helped me in terms of teaching me how to cook, making me work with other people, making me work in the kitchen. I learned how to sew, I learned how to use a sewing machine. I learned all kinds of practical skills.
Survival skills.
That had a real value. And then when I was very ill with cancer, believe it or not, it was home ec that I went back to. I then went to night school and learned how to make curtains, learned how to do this, all the very practical things, because I felt that doing that gave me a purpose that I could look at it and say, oh look, I have achieved, I have made something.
Yep. Leslie, my job at home and when I was growing up was vacuuming, washing dishes, and cleaning up. And I'm going to tell you something right now today. It is the same thing that I do in my household. I love to vacuum. I love to iron. I iron my clothes. I iron my wife's clothes because it's just the two of us here now. And I will clean up. And I think every young boy, every young lady needs to understand what they need to do in the household, because I think then you develop values. And when you develop those values will take you, because sometimes the values that you develop don't necessarily mean that you're doing certain things. But what it does mean is that you respect yourself, because you understand that you can take care of yourself. And therefore, if you can take care of yourself, you can then take care of somebody else. And I think a lot of the relationships our young people going today, well, back then too, going till today, is they have trouble with, they don't know who they are. They don't know how to take care of themselves. So then all of a sudden they're thrust together, and they're trying to make this life where they don't know who they are, and they're trying to live together and do these things, but they can't even balance a checkbook. They can't even cook, So, and then you bring a child into the mix, So I don't know. I just think that there are some things that we need to do in schools that will help kids better, have a better life. And that's what the book is about. The book is trying to direct people to the fundamental things. So the book is set up like this. There's a story of what has happened in my life. Then there's what I learned from the story, and then at the end there's reflective questions that you can go back and look at your life and see how it relates to you. And again, like I said, I think the book is interesting because it's a real book. It's not hypothetical. It's something that actually happened to me. It's real, So, and that's why I just think it's important. Can I tell you one story? It's interesting. The last day of school, I was just gobsmacked for Christmas. Last time we got out for Christmas. 10 of my kids bought my book, and these were year 9 students. 10. And they were sitting around with me, asking me, why did I make this choice in life? Why did I do that? I was completely blown away. I was completely blown away. And one of the kids actually said to me, he said, you know what? And this was a year 10 student. He said, in all the years that I've ever been in school, sir, no one has ever asked me what I wanted other than you. I was blown away. I was completely blown away. You know, so...
Fantastic. Fantastic.
But and I'm not saying that, you know, everything I do is great or whatever, but what I'm saying is that if you go from a human point of view first, and then the subject first, kids buy into you if you buy into them.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the kids, and isn't it funny how the kids know? Yeah.
I totally and utterly agree. I am so looking forward to reading your book, Renaldo. Fingers crossed, we'll actually be able to meet at Learning Technologies, because what you're talking about just doesn't apply to kids. It also applies to everybody who works in learning and everybody who has a responsibility for learning.
Yeah. And Leslie, all of us are responsible for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, all of us are responsible for all of us. You know, and I remember growing up when my next door neighbor could beat my behind if I did something wrong. And my mom would come home and then she would beat me again because I did something wrong. And, you know, so, it's very different today.
I remember it well. You never misbehaved at school because, unlike nowadays, oh my goodness, if your parents ever found you'd be naughty at school, you'd be twice as much trouble at home than you would have done at school.
Yeah, let
me tell you this quick story right here. So I'm in school, and I was in the 10th grade. So Mr. Thunderbird was his name. Mr. Thunderbird was about 260, about 6'5". So I'm acting stupid in school. So I did something, and Mr. Thunderbird he had a paddle. He was going to hit me on my hand 6 times. And he said, okay, I'll give you a choice. You can either take these licks or I'll call your mother. I said, sir, you might want to give me 10 then, because I don't want you to call my mother. So, but again, I ended up getting from both ways, you know, because he found out anyway, you know. And so it's different these days. It's different, you know.
It's funny. I had a friend whose father, every time he said, Dad, I don't feel well. I can't go to school. Father said, no, I just don't feel well. Good, then we're going to give you an enema.
Yes.
And he said, I never missed a day of school.
No.
I was going, that's a pretty good one. An enema. That's not fun. And it worked. But, you know, it comes down to, like you said, basic parenting, common sense, and they care about you. They're not whacking you because they want to beat you. They care about you.
But you have to care about them first, and you have to show that. You know, one of the things I do, and I hate to keep saying what I do, but these are the strategies that I've learned in teaching. And one of the things I do now, in the first maybe 1 or 2 lessons that I have, I never discuss the curriculum, ever. I want to find out what those kids did during the summer, how many brothers and sisters they have, what they like to do, you know, what they do in their spare time. I want them to talk to each other, because then I feel that if they think I'm genuinely interested in me, then we have a bond. And once we have a bond, then learning becomes easy. Yeah. And then what happens is when I'm having one-to-one conversations, I won't talk about the curriculum. I'll talk about, well, you play guitar at your church band, so how is that? You know, so I want the kids to know that I'm genuinely interested in them, and I genuinely am. And I just think in the long run, not only do you build better people, but as a teacher, my life is so much easier, because if anybody gets out of line, the kids will put them back in line for you, you know?
But it's not just, that just doesn't apply in teaching. Because in my career, you know, I used to work for government, so I had a huge budget and a very big number of direct, you know, contacts, you know, people who were directly responsible to me. And I made a conscious effort when I said, this is not about sending round emails to everybody. So I used to floor walk, and I I made a point of meeting and talking to the people that I worked with from what you would call, you know, I was reasonably senior, but from what you would call the quite low down junior people in the organisation, you know, administrative people to people who worked, you know, even collecting the post and doing stuff like that, right up to senior management. I floor walked. And
But
it was personal relationships that I built up that actually made the difference.
But you know what's interesting, Leslie, is that some of those people who we think that are below us are much more interesting than the people who are above us. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Much more interesting and have much more engaging lives, you know. And just because you're in a position doesn't define you as a person. And I think that's the problem that a lot of kids have and a lot of adults have, is that because they're in a position, they don't think that they can do what the person above can do. But what they don't realize is that the person who is above did the same thing they did at a particular time.
Right.
You know, so it's just.
I've done this exercise with some people, especially younger people, who always, you know, want to go, I want to be rich, I want to have that house, I want this, I want that, I want. And I tell them, you know what, go drive through rich areas. Just drive through. Don't get in trouble with anybody, just drive through. And look at the people you see on the streets, coming out of the houses, whatever. And often, they're the most miserable, unhappy people you could ever see. And you just go, my gosh, what happened?
And not all of them, but some of them, a lot of them are. They are. But I think in general, I think people are, okay, one of the things, Rick, that I have always said is that when I walk out the door in the morning, I have to take my sunshine with me. Because most people will not be happy. So I pack my sunshine on my back, and I have my sun shining through the day all the time. And just because I have an issue at home or I have an issue with something else doesn't mean that I have to put that issue on you. It is not your fault.
That's true.
Do you understand what I mean? So it's important to me that I understand that everything that happens to me is in a compartment. And that compartment needs to, in some way, stay in that compartment because no one else is responsible for that compartment except for the people who are in that compartment with me that made that particular issue relevant to me at that particular time.
Yep.
You know,
but it's also sometimes when you, like you've been talking about telling your story, it's also important to share what it's like being in that environment. Because otherwise, people, you know, won't even know and might go down the wrong route. And if only they'd heard what you had to say, they might then think, wow, why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
I am the biggest failure in the world. Okay? I am the biggest failure in the world. But I don't let my failures define me. Okay? I am the biggest failure, but my failures will not define me. Because I can find more reasons why I need to get up than why I need to stay down. Okay? And they start with my 2 kids. You know? So.
And I think with that, we'll end on a positive note.
Yeah, that's just exactly what I was going to say, Rick.
I think we've been going for about an hour, a little over an hour. This is really good. We always do half-hour shows, if you don't know that. We don't do that very often.
Leslie, thank you so much, and it's been really nice to be able to get out my thoughts. And thank you so much for showcasing the book. I really appreciate it, Leslie. I would love to do some work with the organization because what you do is at my heart. It is truly at my heart, and I would love to work with you.
I will be in touch regarding the Learning Technologies Conference because I'm sure that you will have a great time. It's you know, 8,000 people attend, so I'm sure you'll have a great time, meet some great people, and also do some great learning yourself.
Yes, and yes, continual learning, and I'll bring some books along.
Oh, fantastic! I'll be in touch, Renaldo.
Please do. Let's change the world together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what? Like you said in the beginning, one person at a time. You start small, work your way up.
Yes, sir.
Not as who, if not now when.
That's right. That's right.
Well, anyway, for all you guys watching, I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Merry whatever holiday you celebrate or not. Have a good season of holidays and have a great, wonderful 2018. Like we say, have a healthy, without healthy, have nothing. Happy, you gotta stay happy. And prosperous, it comes when you're healthy and happy. New Year, 2018. We'll see you guys next time, and both you guys, thank you so much for being there. You're both great friends, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
Okay.
Thank you. Absolute
Bye,
pleasure.
everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ronaldo. Bye.
Bye, Logan. Thank you.